This is a Louie T Network exclusive.
Hey, either you're outside or you're
in the lab room.
Draft Zone.
Clear it, babe. For me, your me, Louie T. Welcome. You are in the lab room, of course. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me on the 2016 NFL Draft Wrap-Up Series. That's right. Your boy is back. The Sweater Vest Bandit is back in full effect with your favorite show, your favorite series, the 2016 NFL Draft Wrap-Up Series. And you know how this goes. You already know how this goes. In case you don't, this is how we gonna do it. Your man Louie T looks to break down every single team in the National Football League's 2016 NFL Draft using my baseball grading scale. Single, double, triple, home run. There are no strikeouts here in the Draft Wrap-Up Series, as we cannot tell how these players are going to pan out. And I don't want to discount any of these football players before they get their chance in the National Football League. And so we'll get a score for each and every single player, take an aggregate of that team's draft by giving each and every single player a grade. Get that aggregate, divide by the number of picks in the draft, apply bonuses when necessary, and voila, you get a score for that team's draft. And we'll move on to the next team in the draft that is going to be picked by you, the viewers. That's right, it's the You Pick format. You, the viewers. It's the up format. You, the viewers out there, are going to select who's going to be next in the series by simply being the first, not the second, not the third, not the 25th, the first to leave a comment in the comment section with the team that you want to see next, and the most important thing, the phrase itself, next, okay? So team you want to see, and I don't care how you word it, one team, one name, both of the team's name, Cincinnati Bengals, just the Bengals. I don't care how you phrase it, it needs to be that team's name and the phrase next in the comment section to have that team up next in the program. So now that I've gotten all the formalities out of the way, you know how this goes. I'm gonna break down the draft of the first team up in the series, and this is what's going to happen. I had a live draft party this year. For those of you who joined me, thank you very much. It was a lot of fun, the most fun I've ever had doing, watching the draft in general. It was just a lot of fun chopping it up with you guys. And what I did also was a mock draft challenge this year, and I said that the winner of the mock draft challenge would have the honor of picking the team that will be first in the series. Well, I had two winners, okay? Two guys were able to win. Mock Draft Central got it done, as well as D. Russell Showtime as well. So both of those guys won. D. Russell Showtime had the Vikings up, and Mock Draft Central is going to have the San Diego Chargers. San Diego Superchargers. And so I'm going to start with the Vikings, and then once that Chargers video is released, you guys have at it. It's a free-for-all. Who's up next is going to be determined by you guys, but I'm going to knock this Vikings video out first, going to knock that Chargers video out second, and after that Chargers video is uploaded, you guys go for yours, man. It's all every man for himself, battle royale. Looking forward to seeing you guys battle it out to determine who will be next. That being said, Vikings are up. Skol Vikings! Let's jump into the 2016 NFL Draft. The Minnesota Vikings, we start first in the first round, 23rd overall selection. Wide receiver out of Ole Miss, Laquon Treadwell is the selection for the Minnesota Vikings. This is one of those picks we saw. I didn't get many right on draft night in the first round, but this is one of the picks that I did get correct. And I saw this one coming a mile away. He fits with what the Vikings want to do. I'm not going to break him down. You know how I do. If I break the player down in the draft prospects 101 series, I'm not going to do it during the draft wrap-up series. But I will say this, it's a great fit for Minnesota. It's what they need out there. Teddy Bridgewater needs some help. This is a guy that can go out there across from Stephon Diggs, give them the big target that they lack currently at the wide receiver position. So now you have a little bit of balance offensively with the big receiver, a possession guy that they think is going to get faster in Minnesota. Remember, he was coming off of major knee surgery the year previous, so they think he's going to get faster in the upcoming year, and he's going to be even better as a receiver in terms of being able to make plays after the catch and separating from defenders. So I love this pick for the Vikings. You know what time it is. Go ahead. It's hit hard. It's hit deep. Out of here. It's a home run in the first round for the Minnesota Vikings as they get a great compliment. And I think with a guy that can come in and be a number one receiver for them right away in a Laquon Treadwell, wide receiver out of Ole Miss in the first round. I love it when a team goes out and addresses a need and gets best player available at the same time. And I think the Vikings got a great combination of both in the first round. You go to the second round pick, 54th overall, cornerback out of Clemson, Mackensie Alexander is the selection. And before I even jump into this pick, big shout outs to my man Vance Valencia, because I think me and him went back and forth about, I'll say a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago. He said Mackensie Alexander is not going in the first round, and I swore up and down that he was. And I said all it takes is one team to fall in love with this guy. He went to the combine, and I think some of the things that he said rubbed some teams the wrong way. You don't catch any interceptions in college when you're there for 2 years, and you walk onto the campus and you're a starter day one and you don't get one interception. Something's wrong with that pitcher. A lot of teams were turned off by some of his antics and some of the things he said, and all of a sudden he's a second round pick and a late one at that. So big shout out to Vance Valencia for saying that he wasn't going to be in the first round, and I was wrong. And I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong, but this is great value for the Minnesota Vikings. You say what you want about Mackensie Alexander. Oh, he doesn't play off coverage. All he does is get in the receiver's face, and we don't know how he plays in zone and all that stuff. Say what you want about Mackensie Alexander. He's a press cover corner, a guy that'll come up, plays a lot of press and bail technique, but the guy can play football. He's an athletically gifted corner. No, he's not the biggest size guy at the cornerback position, but he can run, he can make some plays. And what if you don't have a lot of opportunities to make plays on the football? Okay, all right. So that bad example. He should have caught that, right? Looks like he should have caught that. Whatever. End of the day, this guy's a very good cornerback, and I think he's going to have a chip on his shoulder because of where he landed in the draft, and I think he's going to come in and be willing to do whatever is asked of him. He's a hard-nosed player, wears his emotions on his sleeve. I like Mackensie Alexander, and I love the value here in the second round. A starting corner to me is going to come in and give you everything he's got. Really love this selection in the second round. Where you got him, great value. Gives you some more depth at the cornerback position. I love this pick. I love the value. And I love Mackensie Alexander in the second round for this Minnesota Vikings team. And so, with that being said, it's hit hard. It's hit deep. Out of here. It's another home run for the Minnesota Vikings starting this draft in 2016. Back-to-back jacks for the Minnesota Vikings in the first round with Laquon Treadwell, in the second round with Mackensie Alexander. We move on to the fourth round. Vikings select 121st overall and select offensive lineman Willie Beavers out of Western Michigan. Here's a guy that's 6'4", 324 pounds, a big, aggressive offensive lineman. I like the way that he is very physical at the point of attack. I think he's got great length, okay? A big guy. You think about tackles, because he played tackle at Western Michigan. You think about tackles, it's crazy that 6'4" isn't that big anymore, but man, these tackles, man, they are 6'5", they're 6'6", they're 6'7". 6'4", not really that big. So when I hear 6'4", I'm thinking, okay, he's probably got shorter arms. This guy's got 33.5-inch arms, so he's got pretty long arms, even though he's not the tallest guy in the world. So really good length. I think he's very light on his feet, and that goes with the next pro as well. Very good movement skills. When I watched him, I'm like, man, this guy's moving very quick. He's very agile, very athletic. He's getting out there, he's pulling, he's out in front on screens. I'm just watching this guy get up the field, and I'm like, man, this is impressive. And so Willie Beavers is a guy that I think can move very well out in space. Very good lateral quickness, very good movement skills in general. He anchors well enough, okay? He's not a guy that's gonna overpower you in a run game. He's not a guy that's gonna be able to just stand up and stonewall a guy at the line of scrimmage. He's gonna give a little ground, but he's gonna arch that back, and at some point he's gonna dig those feet in the ground, and he's gonna stop and there's going to be no movement at all. And so he anchors well enough for me when he's going to get bull rushed, because he's going to get bull rushed at the next level. He does a good enough job of anchoring down and not giving too much ground to allow the pocket to collapse. I love his disposition because it's nasty. He's a nasty boy. Nasty boy. He's a nasty boy. He's a nasty boy. He's physical. A couple of times I'm watching him on plays, driving guys out of bounds, driving guys into the ground. He's real nasty. One of those dudes, they blow the whistle, and then the referee's got to come tap him on the shoulder. Hey, man, play's over. Don't make me throw this flag on you. Cut it out. He's got a nasty disposition, and we know how Mike Zimmer likes him. Zimmer! We know how he likes him. He likes him big. He likes him physical. He likes him nasty. And he likes him reliable. And that's the last pro. 40 consecutive starts. This guy's a reliable guy that you can count on each and every week to lace him up, strap the helmet on, and go out there and perform for you. So that's how Mike Zimmer likes him, and that's what Willie Beavers is. And so you get a lot of it. And I think he's moving to guard from tackle position, which is what he played in college at Western Michigan. I think he's moving to guard. So that, to me, is going to help him with a couple of these cons that I have. And so let's move on to his cons. Will overextend, and at the tackle position, sometimes you can get him on his toes and get him off balance. He'll start lunging, and that's when he's off balance. And next thing you know, somebody's past him, hard for him to recover. So when you're at guard, you don't really have to do that anymore, okay? Now you got guys to the left and to the right of you. You're not on an island by yourself, so I don't know if he's gonna have to overextend anymore. I don't know if that's something he'll have to deal with playing the guard position at the next level. So I really like this transition from outside tackle to inside at guard, if that's what the Vikings are in fact going to do with this guy. Next con is struggles to recover inside, and that's something that I felt like a quick move to the inside, and this guy was beat continuously. As I watched the tape, that was something that frustrated me to no end. He would get outside, he would open up his hips, they would go inside on him, and he could not recover fast enough. There would be times where they would run twists and stunts, and they would get inside of him, and he wouldn't recover fast enough. Someone would blitz on the inside. He needed to push that guy off and then get back to the inside, and he wouldn't get back there fast enough. Next thing you know, you got a free rusher to the inside going after the quarterback. He struggles recovering to the inside. Maybe as he goes inside the guard now, maybe that's less of an issue. We'll find out as time passes. Doesn't generate a bit of movement in the run game for me. I think he's a guy that does a great job of walling off defenders, but he doesn't necessarily create a new line of scrimmage. Not going to take a guy and drive him 2 yards from the line of scrimmage and create some movement in the run game to give the space necessary for a running back to make some plays. But with a guy like Ledric Bertelsen, or the secret weapon, shh, don't tell nobody about Jerick McKinnon. I don't know if these guys need a lot of space or not. They're pretty shifty and creative on their own. If you could just get in the defender's face, wall them off, and give these guys just a little bit of room to maneuver, I think they'll be able to do the rest of the work. So really like this pick. I think he's got some work to do. I think he's a little raw, and if you're moving him inside, that's going to be a position that he's going to have to learn and get better at. But this pick in the 4th round, Willie Beavers for me is a solid double in the gap. There are some things that I think he needs to improve upon, and if he's moving that from tackle to guard, I'd love to see how this transition takes place and if he's a great fit at guard for the Vikings moving forward. This could easily go from a double to a triple if they're moving him to guard, which I'm hearing is going to be the case. And if he is able to make this transition, I can see him being a hell of a guard for the Minnesota Vikings at the next level. You go to the 5th round, 160th pick overall, linebacker out of Missouri, Kentrell Brothers. This is a hell of a pick by the Vikings, and I'll tell you why here in a second. 6 feet, 245 pounds. High energy, high motor guy. This is a man that you turn on the tape and he's flying sideline to sideline, making plays left and right. Just love the energy and the veracity that he plays with. And so there's a lot to like here with Kentrell Brothers. Great mentality and awareness, instincts for the game of football. He's very smart. That's translation of what I'm trying to say. Very smart football player. Look, you can give me athletic freaks up and down the field every day of the week, but if they're not smart, if they don't have it here, all of that athleticism rendered worthless, okay? You gotta be smart. Give me the guy, may not be the best athlete in the world, but he's smart, he studies film, he understands what's going on in the field, can call out a play before it happens, knows how to hit that gap, has instincts, so he's able to make a play. When you don't have the best athleticism, if you have instincts and you're smart, you can make up the difference that you're lacking in athleticism, and that's what you get out of Kentrell Brothers, man. A dude that is just very football savvy, high football IQ, knows what the hell is going on the field, and can make plays and react to what's going on. And so, love his football IQ. I think this guy is very aware and smart, and I think that's going to help him at the next level. Good play diagnosis. I just told you he's a smart guy. You can tell he studies the tape and is out there being a field general. He's one of those guys that pre-snap, he sees the formation, saw it on tape, he's calling out plays. Next thing you know, he's in the backfield making a play because he saw that play on tape. They ran it 2 weeks before. He saw it, he recognized it, he got guys lined up, and now they're making plays and they're swarming to the football. Very good play diagnosis for Kentrell Brothers. Tackling machine, led the nation in tackles with 152 tackles this year for the Tigers. And this guy I'm talking about, he can move on the football field, and speaking of which, sorts through garbage efficiently. And this, I'm gonna go ahead and lump this next pro in there as well. Flows to the football very well. To me, a prime example of him doing this, there's a 4th and 1 in 2015 versus Georgia where he is at middle linebacker. They run the football on 4th and 1. He sorts through the garbage and he flows over to the football and he meets the running back. Boom! Head on, in the hole, drives him backwards, doesn't allow him to pick up the first down. That's what you get out of Kentrell Brothers. Love this guy's football acumen, love his toughness, and I love his ability to find the football. You don't lead the nation in tackles by accident. 152 of those things for a reason. This guy does it the right way. Takes tremendous pursuit angles. Again, not the greatest athlete. So when you're lacking in athleticism, you have to make up for it in other ways. Being smart and taking proper pursuit angles, which is what Kentrell Brothers does. He takes phenomenal angles to the football, which gets him there in a very efficient manner, which allows him to do what he does best, which is get ball carriers on the ground. He times up blitz as well. That's the last pro. This is a guy that I saw blitz quite a bit on tape and was very effective. I see a lot of guys blitzing from the middle linebacker position. I see a lot of guys blitzing from the outside linebacker position. They don't hit home. They're just taking on a blocker. There's something to be said about actually blitzing and winning, or actually blitzing, timing it up well, and getting into the backfield and being disruptive. Don't just blitz just to say, hey, I blitzed, I took on a blocker. Blitz to try to hit home, which is what Kentrell Brothers does. And he will get in the backfield and blow a play up. Times blitzes up very, very well. Let's go to his cons, and really, there's only one con for me, and I love this guy as a football player. Lacks elite athleticism for the position. We know what the linebacker position has become in the National Football League. It's a run and chase league. Guys are more athletic, lighter in the pants. They're not hammers, they're not thumpers that come down and be physical in the run game. They're finesse guys like Darren Lee. This is one of those throwback linebackers. If this was 10 years ago, he'd be a top 15 pick in the draft. He's that good, he's that productive. He's what you look for in terms of an all-around linebacker. Problem is, he's not running a 4.47 like Darren Lee. He's not one of these guys that's gonna light up the 40. And so because of that, teams turn the other way. They turn a blind eye to what he does on the football field. He's a football player, and that's what I love about Kentrell Brothers. You know what you're getting when you get him. Each and every week, he's gonna show up and he's gonna do his job, and he's gonna do it at a very high level. And so he ran a 4.89 at the combine, cleaned that up, and a lot of guys ran poor times at the combine. I almost am at the point now where just show me the pro day time. Because the combine time, they put these guys through the ringer. Each and every year at the combine, they put them in some very bad situations. They're waking them up at all times of the morning. They're testing them, they're probing them. It's an uncomfortable situation for these guys. A lot of pressure being put on them. They go out, they don't perform well. They get back to their environment. They perform at their pro days, and they go out and do what they do best. And so he goes to his pro day and runs a 4.73, which to me It's fine. I'll take a 4.73 with this package that is Kentrell Brothers. I love what he brings to the table. In the 5th round, 160th pick overall. For me, Kentrell Brothers, linebacker out of Missouri, he's a triple. And he started to try to round third. I say, hey, slow up. It's a triple. You legged it out. Be easy on that triple. But it's a triple nonetheless for Kentrell Brothers. I love this guy, and I think give him 2 years, he's going to be starting at linebacker for this Minnesota Vikings team. I think he's that good of a football player, and I think he's going to have an impact on this team sooner rather than later. Move on to the 6th round for the Minnesota Vikings, 180th pick overall in the 2016 NFL Draft. The Minnesota Vikings select Moritz Boehringer, wide receiver out of the German Football League. And this is a great story. We all know about how this came about. 17-year-old kid over in Germany turns on YouTube, sees some highlights of Ledric Bertelsen, loves it, falls in love with the game of football, decides he wants to play, and from there on, he ends up playing in the German Football League, tears it up, ends up getting an invite over here, and works out at the pro day, lights it up, runs a 4.41 or something to that effect. At 6'4", 227 pounds, this guy's a freak. Let's jump into his breakdown. 6'4", 227 pound, height, weight, speed specimen. You know what you're getting in Moritz Boehringer. This is a guy that can pick him up and put him down. He's a big physical freak. They call him the white Randy Moss. I mean, there's so many different comparisons. I look at him. I also see, I saw Daniel Jeremiah say that he reminds him of Drew Bennett. I don't think he's Drew Bennett because I think he's a little bit more explosive than Drew Bennett and a lot bigger than Drew Bennett. But Drew Bennett was a 6'5" guy, but a little bit gangly and long and lanky. I think he's got a little bit more physical girth to him than Drew Bennett ever did. He looks more like a Matt Jones to me. Who? Matt Jones, the wide receiver that turned wide receiver from quarterback out of Arkansas that played for the Jacksonville Jaguars for a couple of years in the league. Big physical guy that can run really fast, and I think he's got some of those same qualities. Huge catch radius. You turn on the highlights of him, and you know there's not a lot there, but you take what you can get, and you see a guy that can high point the football. You see a guy that can catch the football away from his frame. So huge catch radius. When you're 6'4", you got long arms, you're a big guy. The quarterback can afford to make a few mistakes because you can clean him up and make him right. And I think Moritz Boehringer can do that. Explosive rack and yakster. Look, run after the catch for this guy on tape is phenomenal. And he makes it look like he's playing against high schoolers. And I know the German Football League isn't over there producing a lot of high caliber athletes. So he made those guys look like less than stellar athletes, and that's what you're supposed to do. When you're the best in your league, and you're the best, and you're a pro football prospect, you're supposed to be running past those guys like they're high schoolers, and that's what he did. And so you see the explosion. And I don't give a damn if it's the German Football League. I don't care if it's the Wisconsin Football League. I don't care if it's the Big Ten, the Pac-10, the ACC, the SIAI. I don't give a damn what it is. If you're an athlete and you run really, really fast, that translates anywhere. And so the fact that he was running by guys like they were standing still, I know that, oh man, those guys aren't fast. Yeah, you're right, but guess what? He is fast. So it doesn't matter. 4.4 is 4.4 in the NFL, in the Big Ten, in the SEC, or in the German Football League. So this guy's fast, he's physical, brings a lot to the table, plays with physicality. And this is a guy that'll catch it over the middle. He can take some shots, hold on to the football, goes over the middle as the next pro. He doesn't have a problem running an 8-yard curl route right in front of the linebacker and taking on that hit. He's a big guy. He doesn't mind. He doesn't mind running that 12-yard dig route or that square in and coming over the middle, knowing that safety's there, knowing that linebacker's there, catching the football, taking a shot. He's a physical football player that does all of the dirty work as well. Good, strong hands. Guy that will pluck the football out of the air. Didn't see a bunch of body catches. Saw a guy that's confident in his abilities to catch the football and pluck it out of the air. Ran various routes in the German Football League. That was the thing that I was most impressed with. I was expecting a bunch of bubble screens, and trust me, there were a lot of bubble screens, but there were also dig routes. There were also bang eights, that backside post. There were also some deep posts. There were also slants. He ran a number of different routes. And so I feel like his transition isn't going to be as tedious as once thought when looking at what he did in the German Football League. A lot of those things are going to translate to the National Football League game. This is the one that blew me away. Played X, Y, and Z and the slot. over in the German Football League. And yes, I did not stutter. He played the Y as well. That means he lined up as a tight end. So this guy brings a number of different skill sets to the table as a wide receiver. Can also line up at tight end if necessary. So he can give you a number of different looks from the wide receiver position. Special teams value, saw this guy returning kickoffs. So a guy like Cordell Patterson, who you did not pick up the option on in his rookie contract, could be expendable this offseason. If he doesn't come out, perform well, and this guy does, you could have a new kickoff returner in camp this year. And Moritz Boehringer did it effectively in the German Football League. There's upside here. I don't have to tell you that. The guy's raw. He's got a huge upside though, and that's why I love this pick. I think that's why so many people are intrigued by this pick, because the upside with Moritz Boehringer is tremendous. This guy's just scratching the surface, and I think if they can coach him up properly, put him in some positions to succeed, this guy can go out and ball for the Minnesota Vikings for years to come. His cons. Level of competition is the first one that jumps out at you. He played in the German Football League. The next one, can he release off press coverage? That's a question more than a con. We just don't really know. We saw them do a couple of drills with him at the pro day that he was at, having him kind of getting pressed and drilled a little bit, and he looked good doing it. But again, that's just in a pro day workout. Let's see if he can get off of press coverage consistently. We know the level of competition wasn't great over there. Those guys were terrified by his speed. He didn't get pressed at all. He was getting 8 to 10 yards of cushion on just about every play. Bubble screens worked because of that. He was able to eat up guys' cushion and run by them. He was able to catch simple slants and comebacks and curls and then accelerate past guys. So the level of competition was not great in the German Football League. But again, dominate the competition. If it's not great competition, then light it up, and that's what he did. That's all you can do if you are a guy like Moritz Boehringer, and so I have no problems with that. Another question, this is less of a con, much like can he release off the line of scrimmage on press coverage? This is another question more so than a con. Can he block in the run game? I don't know. You didn't really see any of that because guess what? Blocking in the run game doesn't show up on highlight tapes that often. So I want to know, can this guy go up to a receiver and jack him up? He's a big guy at 6'4", 227. I'd love to think that that should translate into him going and roughing up a 195-pound corner. But again, it's a mentality. I think he's got that mentality. So we'll see what happens. Can he block in the run game? And he's raw. That's the last con. Of course he's raw. He's coming from the German Football League. The guy just started playing football when he was 17 years old. The guy's like 22 years old. So young man, hasn't been playing that long, still has a lot to learn, wet behind the ears, breath smelling like Similac. You coach him up, he's a baby, he's a pup. You take him and you mold him into the big thoroughbred that you want him to be. And so I love this pick. In the 6th round, 180th overall. Love the story, love the background, and I love the potential that is here with Mobo in the 6th round. Mobo, wide receiver out of the German Football League, first German-born player to be drafted in the National Football League, is a triple. That's right, another triple for the Minnesota Vikings. Loving the draft of the Vikings thus far. Let's move on to the next 6th round pick, 188th overall. Tight end out of UTSA, University of Texas at San Antonio. Tight end David Morgan, the second. Let's break him down. 6'4", 262-pound tight end, big physical tight end. Reliable pass catcher. He was the go-to guy at UTSA. So that stands out to me. When you're a tight end and you're the go-to guy, the other team knows you're getting the football, you're still out there balling, making plays. That's something to be said for that. So I love the fact that he's the guy that you can trust throwing a football to, and whether he's draped and covered and has a defender all over him, or he shakes free somehow, he's going to make a play for you. You throw it up, you throw it down, you throw it to the left, you throw it to the right. This guy's going to find a way to come down with the football. Reliable pass catcher. Tremendous hands. And you saw it on tape. I saw him make a diving stab one time. Saw him go and run a back shoulder fade with a defender draped all over him in the end zone, still plucked it out of the air. Love his hands. Think that's something that's an added value with him in the package that is David Morgan II. Runs good routes. Again, not the fastest guy in the world, but he still finds a way to run good routes, uses his body well to shield off defenders, which is the next pro. So let me go ahead and throw it in here. Positions body well. And not only when he's running routes, but he also positions his body well when in the run game blocking. So he just knows how to use his body when out on the football field, which I think is an added bonus when you're talking about him running routes and getting open. Again, when you're not the most fast guy in the world, you got to find ways, little subtleties in the top of your route. When you're running that route at the stem, to here, bend that route here, give that defender a little shoulder, a little nudge, maybe a little elbow, create a little separation, get open, catch the football. He does all those things well, but in the run game as well, he's not afraid to put his body out there and get in there and put himself in between ball carrier and defender, and so he positions his body well, not only when running routes, but also as a blocker. Can be split out as a U or a Y. And so as a U, a tight end that is classified as a U is a guy like a Jimmy Graham, like a Jordan Reed, like a Gronkowski, one of these guys that you can detach away from the line of scrimmage and split them out in the slot or out wide as a standalone wide receiver. So that's a U. When you line a tight end up outside of their normal in-line position, they're a U. And he can also line up as a Y, in tight to the line in the traditional in-line tight end formation, and come up and block, run routes from there. So I think there's a little bit of versatility that you love that you're getting from David Morgan II in that realm. Also, aggressive physical blocker is his final kind, and I think, to me, that's his calling card. And the reason why you make a selection like this in the 6th round is because you're looking for a guy that can come in and help you in a run game that can block. With so many tight ends playing in spread offenses that don't line up tight to the formation, that don't go up and block anymore, that don't learn how to block anymore, these guys are so few and far between in the draft now that when you find one that can actually catch the football too, it's an added bonus that you just want to snatch these guys up. Even if you take a 6th round flyer on them, they can come in and try to help you in the run game. And I think if he's going to make this Vikings team or somebody's roster in this league, it's going to be because this guy can block and also catch the football as an added bonus. But I think his calling card in the league is going to be his ability to stick his face mask in the chest of a defender and generate movement in the run game. His cons: not very fast or overly athletic. This is a 4'9" tight end we're talking about here. Not going to run away from anybody. And because of that lack of athleticism or quickness, these are the two cons that kind of stem from that. So he doesn't really have a bunch of flaws. It's just that he's not very athletic, and because of that lack of athleticism, this is what I saw on tape, doesn't get into his routes fast enough sometimes. There were times when the quarterback would be under duress, a blitz, heavy pressure. He's relying on David Morgan to win, and David Morgan wouldn't even be out of his route yet. He'd turn around and look for the football, ball's over his head. Quarterback's like, I need you to win right away. And this is a speed out. It's not like this guy's running 13 yards down the field. He's running 5 yards to turn around, and the quarterback can't wait. And he's not getting into his route fast enough. And so I saw that at least 3 times on tape where quarterback's looking for him, and he's waiting, and can't wait any longer, and he lets it go, and David Morgan's turning around, all right, I'm ready. The ball's already gone. And so because he's not fast enough, he didn't get into his route quick enough sometimes. And also, he gets beat to a spot in the run game sometimes because he's so slow. And, that's just something he can't help. Sometimes he's not able to cross face of that defensive lineman and meet him at the mesh point, meet him at that spot. And so he'll get beat to a spot that'll give that leverage to that defender, and they'll end up making the play. So that's just something you got to deal with, something he's got to work around as a guy that's a little bit slow of foot. So other than that, man, I like this guy's game. I like that he's a physical blocker in a league where tight ends don't block anymore, especially coming out of college. This guy blocks. He can catch the football. Was the go-to guy at UTSA. I love the fact that this guy can catch the football in addition to being a really physical blocker. So in the 6th round, 188th pick overall, David Morgan II, to me, is a double. A guy that is solid, that has a chance to make this football team, especially if he comes in and blocks the way he did in college and catches the football. I think there's a space for him in this league. Hopefully it's with the Minnesota Vikings. in the 6th round. Go to the 7th round, 2 picks there for the Vikings. 7th round, 227th pick overall. Linebacker out of Vanderbilt. Stephen Weatherly is the pick. 6'4", 267 pounds. Long, rangy defender. He can get up the field, okay? This is a guy with very long arms. You see him, and he's just a long guy. Kind of lumbers a little bit. But there's some explosion there, off the edge. I just talked about him being able to get up the field. The next pro is he has some explosion off the edge. If he can just time up the snap and be a little bit more decisive, this is a guy that can get up the field and wreak havoc in the backfield. I think what the Vikings are looking for here is another diamond in the rough, like a Danielle Hunter last year that came on strong at the end of the season. They're hoping they can get a guy to come in, be a little bit of a pass rushing presence. To me, he's more of a 3-4 outside linebacker than a hand in the dirt 4-3 base end. But they're going to try to convert him. He's got the size at 267 pounds, so that's not an issue. He's just got to be able, and I thought he came into his own. They played a 4-3 defense at first at Vanderbilt when he first got there. They made the switch when James Franklin took off for Penn State. New coaching staff comes in. They bring in a different defense. All of a sudden now, he's a much more gifted athlete. They put him in positions to succeed in that 3-4 defense. He took off. Savvy pass rusher, 10.5 sacks last year. I would have loved for this guy to stay at school for one more year. If I'm not mistaken, he was a junior, had another year of eligibility. I think it would have really done him some good to stay in school one more year and really refine his pass rushing ability. But again, I don't know that guy's situation. Mike Mayock says it all the time, and I couldn't agree with him more. You never know a guy's situation. You don't know what's going on back at home. Maybe he needed to do this. Maybe he needed to take this leap. Whatever the case may be, from a football perspective, would have loved to have seen him stay in school one more year, became a senior, and really honed in on his craft. He could have probably elevated his draft stock, but nonetheless, they lined him up everywhere on the line of scrimmage. This guy was lining up, mugging A gaps, mugging B gaps, coming off the edge, blitzing all over the place, dropping into coverage, which is another pro for him. He can drop into coverage. Not that bad in space, can be a little stiff at times, but he's got good movement skills, so that's not something that you worry about. Solid at the point of attack. This is a guy that, I told you, he's got long arms. He's a long ranging defender. He'll extend those arms and use that to stand offensive linemen up, which will allow him to then disengage, shed him, get to the ball carrier. So very stout at the point of attack. Didn't see him stack and shed as well as I would have liked him to. Again, another reason I would have loved to have seen him go back to school, kind of refine some of these skills a bit, but nonetheless, this is a guy that has a lot to work with. Big slab of clay here. If you can mold him up correctly, I think there may be something here with Stephen Weatherly as a pass rusher and a run defender at the next level. His cons, there's a bit of hesitation with him. And so I think it's more so uncertainty. Like, do I want to go up the field and rush and run myself out of this play? Is this a run or is it a pass? Do I commit? Do I drop into coverage? It just seems like there's a bit of hesitation with him, a little bit of uncertainty, and because of that, it lends itself to this next con. He always seems a step slow. When it's a running play, he's always a step behind the running play. When it's a pass play, he's almost there. He almost gets the sack. It's like, yeah, you had it if you would have just went. Shoot your gun and go. And so that uncertainty to me lends itself to him just being a step slow, a tad slow from making a play all the time. If he would just go and trust his instincts, he might be a much better football player. There might be more plays there for him to make on a more consistent basis. Needs some refining, and that's pretty much what I spoke to, saying that if he would have stayed in school one more year, I don't think he's a 7th round pick. He could have easily been a 4th round pick. He could have been a 3rd round pick in a year's time, because I think there's some development there that's necessary for him to take his game to the next level, but he'll get an opportunity to show what he's worth, and he's gotten drafted. Let's see if he's able to turn. There's a lot there to work with, and because of that, in the 7th round, Stephen Weatherly for me is a double. Really like a lot of the intangibles this guy has, a lot of his skill sets and different characteristics that he possesses. Just thinks he's raw. He needs some work. There's some refining that needs to be done here. And if you can mold this guy, again, 6'4", 267, good length, good size, probably could put on another 5 to 7 pounds to get up to 275, be a solid base end in a 3-4 defense. I think there's something here to work with Stephen Weatherly, and because of that, he is a double in the 7th round. You go to the final pick of the Vikings draft, 7th round, 244th pick overall, defensive back out of Clemson, Jayron Kearse. To me, at the safety position. He's a wild card, 6'4", 216 pounds. That is tremendous length. Big, lengthy defender, the first pro. Outstanding length for the position. I mean, how many 6'4", 216 pound safeties are walking around the NFL as we speak? A guy that comes to mind is Taylor Mays. When you're that big, you'll keep getting opportunities generally in the National Football League. Now, Taylor Mays was drafted a lot higher than the 7th round, but again, I make the point of saying that guys like this don't grow on trees. When you have this kind of ability with that kind of size at that position, you're going to get looks. Even if he doesn't make this Vikings roster, someone else is going to pick him up, give him a look-see, and dust him off and see if they can't get the most out of this kid before throwing him off to the side. So if he doesn't come out and perform, he's probably going to get a look-see at least another 2 or 3 teams throughout the league because of his size. He's a big guy that is athletic for the position. He can make plays. There's stuff here, okay? This guy can be a playmaker. He can force fumbles. I've seen him do it. He can pick off the football. I've seen him do it. He can hit guys, big hits that can get his teammates riled up. I've seen him do it. All of this stuff is here, okay? This guy can make plays. There's just some things that really rub you the wrong way when you watch Jayron Kearse on the football field. Can drop over the slot and even play out wide. I'll give you an example. When they played against Florida State in the ACC, they got a big receiver out there that took the place of Kelvin Benjamin when he left, named Ermin Lane. He's a guy that is about 6'5", big guy, not as fast. So guess what you can do? You can take your big 6'4" safety. When he split all the way out wide, Ermin Lane is, you can take your big 6'4" safety, man him up outside with Ermin Lane, and you can go zero coverage and you can blitz. And that's how they were being able to be aggressive at Clemson, because you got a guy that can go and be a big physical presence outside against a wide receiver, and that's the kind of talent that you have in Jayron Kearse. Special teams value, he played on special teams as well. I didn't say he was great, but he does offer special teams value, and if he's going to make this team as a 7th round pick, he better be willing, able, and out there giving him his all on special teams, or he will not make this football team. Let's go to his cons, because to me, this is why he's a 7th round pick. He's too cool, man. This guy is way too cool for me, man. Way too nonchalant, man. He's that guy. I kind of liken it to me as a youngster. When you get around 14, 15 years old, you think you know everything. You're fronting like your doo-doo don't stink, and so can't nobody tell you nothing when you get to that age. And my dad would be like, "Hey man, come on, I'm gonna leave you." And I'd be walking through the house like, this dude ain't gonna leave me, man. I get outside and Pops is pulling off. "Hey man, wait! Pops ain't playing with you, boy. You better hurry up and get your ass in the van. What's wrong with you?" And that's how he is. He's just too cool for me, man. He's just nonchalant on the football field. "Oh, I'm Jayron Kearse. I'm an athlete, man. I ain't worried about nothing," until somebody run past your ass. And then all of a sudden, you're like, "Damn, did he just run past me?" You damn right he just ran past you. "Damn, did that dude just break my tackle?" You damn right he just broke your tackle. "Damn, did I just take a bad angle and have this dude smoke me?" Yeah, he just did that. And that's the thing that really rubs a lot of people the wrong way with Jayron Kearse is he's just too cool for school, man. It's like he's out there and everybody's going at a goddamn up-tempo pace, and he's at a snail's pace, man. He's like, "Yeah, I'll catch up with y'all later, man. I'm good." And so that's the kind of stuff that rubbed me the wrong way, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people felt the same way about Jayron Kearse, because the talent is there. Takes poor pursuit angles. Look at the first play versus Florida State in 2015. Tell you all you need to know. He takes horrible angles to the football. I've seen him do it on a number of occasions. He frustrates me to no end. I've watched his collegiate career because a lot was made out of this dude when he first came to Clemson campus. And like, man, this guy's big. He's an athlete. He's a safety. He can cover. He can do all of these different things. And then you watch him on the football field and he's a disappointment because there's talent there, but you don't get the most out of this guy. He didn't play like his hair's on fire. He didn't play with any sense of urgency. And then when he does decide to play with some urgency, he takes poor angles. He's not using his brain. He wants to come up for kill shots. Speaking of which, not astute at tackling. He's not astute at tackling. Translation, poor tackler, man. This dude want to come up, he want to lay the shoulder down on you. He don't want to wrap up. He don't want to be a form tackler. He want to come up and, I talked about those big hits earlier, that's what he wants to deliver. He don't want to come up and wrap you up and get you on the ground. He want to come up, lay that shoulder into you. Oh yeah, I'm 6'4", I'm 215. I want to come put this shoulder in you and put a charge into you. What happens when a dude decides to juke you out of your shoes, or a guy's big and physical and bounces off your little tackle, or stiff arms you because you took a poor angle and gets in the end zone? Like late in that UNC game, they got the game basically wrapped up 2 scores. They just need a stop, and he lets a guy stiff arm him, get by him, shoot, shake him, get into the end zone, makes it a close ball game late in that ACC championship game. These are all things you got to deal with Jayron Kearse. And so because of that, he's a 7th round pick. And he had hurt feelings. I mean, he was really salty about being a 7th round pick. He's lucky he got drafted at all, because he said, look, man, I'm a talented guy. I don't understand why I went in the 7th round. I'm better than this. I'm going to show everybody. I'm hoping that chip on his shoulder and this late draft round selection of his is enough to really get him to understand that this is not promised to you, man. Nobody is giving you anything. You got to go out and earn it. And he's got to play with a sense of urgency, or else he'll be on the streets. And so in the 7th round, 244th overall pick, defensive back out of Clemson, Jayron Kearse for me is a double. This is sheerly off of height, weight, speed, measurables, and potential. This guy has immense potential, but if he doesn't go out and work hard and play even harder, he's not going to work out in Minnesota, and he's not going to work out anywhere in the National Football League. He's got to play with a higher sense of urgency. He's got to play the game the right way, and right now, to me, he's cheating the game, and right now, he's paying the price for it as a 7th round pick. So that's the Minnesota Vikings draft in a nutshell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 selections. Let's run down their scoring quickly. 2 home runs in the first 2 rounds, back-to-back jacks in Laquon Treadwell, Mackensie Alexander in the first 2 rounds. 2 triples in this draft. In the 5th round selection of Kentrell Brothers, and the 6th round selection of wide receiver Moritz Bowringer, aka Mobo. And then you got 1, 2, 3, 4 doubles, which nets you 2 double bonuses for a grand total of 26. Divide that by 8. It's a 3.25 triple for the Minnesota Vikings in their 2016 NFL draft wrap up. If it happens in the National Football League, what's more triple? Oh, here in the lab room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything. And now, the National Football League, San Diego Superchargers. They're next. And after that, they let the games begin. It's on. See you next time. Come back and join me. 2016 NFL Draft Wrap-Up Series. There's plenty more where that came from. While you're here, subscribe to the channel. If you want more Louie T, be sure to follow me on Twitter at @InTheLabRoom, or you can like the Facebook page at In The Lab Room. That's In The Lab Room on Facebook and at In The Lab Room on Twitter. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so.